What if the first human to walk on Mars is already living among us, somewhere on Earth right now, unaware of the role they're destined to play in rewriting the story of our species? Picture it, their boots pressing into red Martian soil for the first time, their helmet reflecting the rusty horizon stretching endlessly under a pale pink sky. It might sound like a scene from a science fiction novel, but this moment is no longer a fantasy. It's a target, one that the world's top engineers, scientists, and visionaries are racing toward. And at the center of this race are two giants, NASA and SpaceX. One is the seasoned explorer, cautious but proven. The other a bold contender with radical ambition and an appetite for risk. The question is no longer if we'll reach Mars, but who will get there first. Mars has haunted human imagination for centuries. The ancient Romans named it after their god of war. In the 19th century, astronomers peered through telescopes and imagined canals, evidence of intelligent life. In the 20th century, it became a Cold War chess piece with both the US and the Soviet Union launching missions toward its dusty surface. But now, in the 21st century, Mars has become something more. A frontier, a solution, a backup plan, a bold leap toward becoming a multi-planetary species. Why Mars? Because it's the closest thing we've found to a second Earth. It's not ideal, not even close, but it's the most viable candidate in our cosmic neighborhood. The planet's day is just over 24 hours. It has polar ice caps, signs of ancient water flows, and mineral resources that could potentially support industry. But that's where the similarities end. Mars is freezing, with average temperatures hovering around -63 degrees Celsius. Its atmosphere is less than 1% as dense as Earth's and composed almost entirely of carbon dioxide. Solar radiation bombards the surface due to the absence of a magnetic field. There's no breathable air, no liquid water on the surface, and gravity is only about 38% of what we experience on Earth. In other words, it's deadly. But for pioneers, the word impossible has always been an invitation. This brings us to NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Founded in 1958, NASA has spent decades mastering the complexities of space travel. Every Mars rover, every orbiting satellite, every robotic lander that's touched Martian soil has carried NASA's fingerprints. Their legacy is unmatched. Take the Mars Pathfinder mission in 1997, which captivated the world, as the Sojourner rover sent back images from an alien world, or the Curiosity rover, which has spent over a decade roaming Gale crater. Today, the Perseverance rover is gathering samples from Jezero crater, prepping them for eventual return to Earth. These are not just missions, they're breadcrumbs leading us toward human arrival. But NASA's ambitions go far beyond rovers. Through the Artemis program, NASA aims to establish a sustainable human presence on the Moon by the 2030s. The idea isn't just to revisit the Moon, it's to use it as a training ground and launch pad for deeper space missions, including Mars. The Artemis Gateway, a planned lunar space station, would orbit the Moon and serve as a hub for interplanetary travel. Think of it as an airport terminal between worlds. Astronauts could assemble spacecraft, conduct refueling operations, and launch toward Mars with reduced energy requirements compared to Earth-based launches. This is NASA's vision, methodical, tested, and built on redundancy and risk management. But that's also its limitation. NASA is a government agency. Its funding is dictated by Congress, meaning budgets can fluctuate with elections. Programs can stall, shift priorities, or be cancelled altogether if political winds change. The agency is bound by public scrutiny, bureaucratic red tape, and interagency collaboration. Every milestone takes years, sometimes decades. And yet, there's something deeply reassuring about their caution. When lives are at stake, slow and steady isn't a flaw, it's a virtue. On the other side of the launch pad is SpaceX, founded in 2022 by Elon Musk, a man who makes headlines as easily as he launches rockets. His mission? Not just to visit Mars, but to colonize it permanently. SpaceX wants to establish a self-sustaining city on Mars, complete with 1 million people, agriculture, industry, and the ability to survive without constant resupply from Earth. To achieve this, Musk is betting everything on one ship, Starship. Starship is unlike anything we've built before. At nearly 400 feet tall when stacked with its booster, it's the largest rocket ever constructed. Designed to carry up to 100 passengers, it's fully reusable, something that radically reduces launch costs. The plan? Launch Starship into low Earth orbit, then use multiple tanker Starships to refuel it in space before it sets course for Mars. A 6-month voyage through the void would follow, ending with a propulsive landing on the Martian surface. If successful, Starship could deliver equipment, supplies, and eventually people. But SpaceX isn't known for caution. Its strategy is to move fast, break things, and iterate quickly. Test flights often end in explosions, crashes, or fiery failures, yet each setback brings insight. When prototypes explode, SpaceX doesn't see disaster, it sees data, and with every iteration they get closer to reliability. Critics argue that this approach is reckless, especially when human lives are on the line. Supporters argue it's necessary because without bold risks, there are no giant leaps. So now we find ourselves in an unprecedented era. On one side, NASA, with its legacy, its experience, and its slow but steady drive toward a safe and sustainable Mars mission. On the other, SpaceX, a private company with unrelenting momentum, hungry for results and free from the constraints of bureaucracy. Each has strengths, each has blind spots, and both are shaping the future of human spaceflight in real time. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Right now, Cosmic Whispers is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you enjoy unraveling the mysteries of the universe, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us grow this community together. But before we crown a winner in this race, we need to understand the stakes. Why does Mars matter now more than ever? What makes this moment, the 2020s, so pivotal in the history of space exploration? And what unseen obstacles stand between us and a thriving civilization on a distant planet? Imagine this. You're standing on the Martian surface. The wind, if it can be called that, whispers past your helmet. The sun casts long shadows, its pale light faintly warming the red landscape. You take a deep breath. Well, in your suit you would. And look around. There's no sound, no clouds, no birds. Just you, your fellow explorers, and the Martian horizon stretching endlessly before you. But how did we get here? What does it take to send humans to another planet? And more importantly, who will be the ones to make that leap first, NASA or SpaceX? The reality is, getting to Mars is no simple task. It's not just about building a spaceship and pressing go. The journey is a colossal challenge, requiring new technologies, careful planning, and a whole new level of international and private collaboration. Let's break down the immense hurdles standing between humanity and a future on the red planet. The journey itself. First, let's talk about the basics, the journey to Mars. In terms of distance, it's mind-boggling. Earth and Mars are not stationary. As both planets orbit the Sun, they move in different paths. The average distance between them is about 140 million miles. At its closest approach, Mars can be just 35 million miles away. But even that's still an incredibly long distance to travel, especially when you consider that no one's ever made such a journey before. NASA has been refining their plan for Mars travel through the Space Launch System, SLS rocket, and the Orion spacecraft. The SLS is designed to be the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built, capable of launching the Artemis missions and eventually human crews to Mars. In theory, it would take about 9 months to travel from Earth to Mars using traditional propulsion. That's 9 months of being in a confined space, exposed to radiation, microgravity, and the psychological stress of being so far from Earth. NASA's astronauts will need a spacecraft capable of supporting life for this extended period, something with sufficient food, water, air, and radiation shielding. And that's just the beginning of the challenges. SpaceX, meanwhile, is taking a different approach with Starship. The goal is for Starship to be able to carry humans to Mars in the same amount of time, about 6 months, using a combination of chemical and possibly nuclear thermal propulsion. Starship's sleek design and its sheer size, it's as tall as a skyscraper, are meant to carry as many as 100 passengers at a time. But here's the thing. Launching 100 people toward Mars is a logistical nightmare. How do you keep them alive during the months of travel? How do you shield them from deadly cosmic radiation that could increase their cancer risk? And, equally important, how do you keep their mental and emotional health intact during a journey where they might not hear from Earth for weeks or even months? Radiation and life support systems. Speaking of radiation, this is one of the most dangerous threats astronauts will face on their journey. Unlike Earth, which is protected by a strong magnetic field and a thick atmosphere, Mars doesn't have such shields. The red planet is exposed to constant bombardment by cosmic rays and solar radiation. Without protection, these rays could cause severe health problems, from radiation sickness to long-term effects like cancer. But both NASA and SpaceX have been working on solutions. NASA has been developing advanced radiation shielding systems for its deep space missions. One promising technology involves using water or ice to shield astronauts, as these materials are highly effective at blocking radiation. Additionally, NASA is working on building habitats that can be buried under the surface of Mars, which could provide a natural layer of protection. But that's not all. To minimize the effects of radiation during travel, NASA is studying methods to use the spacecraft itself as a protective shield, incorporating layers of material like polyethylene. SpaceX is also aware of the radiation dangers and is likely developing similar systems for Starship. Musk has mentioned that his ultimate goal is to build a sustainable city on Mars, which means SpaceX will need to create habitats capable of protecting future settlers from the planet's harsh radiation. But the challenge is not only about protection. During the journey, it's about creating sustainable life support systems for an entire colony once humans land. Water, oxygen, food, these are fundamental survival requirements that need to be addressed long-term. Living on Mars. The survival puzzle. Getting to Mars is one thing, surviving there is another. Mars may be close in astronomical terms, but once you land, it's a whole new world. There's no air to breathe, there's no surface water. The atmosphere is so thin that you'd instantly freeze and suffocate without proper equipment. The key to Mars colonization is not just getting there, it's making sure that humans can live there, breathe there, and eventually thrive there. NASA has been conducting extensive research into how humans could survive on Mars. In partnership with private companies and international space agencies, they've developed various concepts for habitats, structures that can protect astronauts from radiation, extreme temperatures, and dust storms. One of NASA's ideas is to use inflatable habitats, such as the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, BEAM, which is currently tested aboard the International Space Station. These habitats could be launched to Mars and then inflated on the planet's surface, offering large living spaces for astronauts. But even these habitats need to be self-sufficient. Life support systems will need to recycle air, water, and food. Growing food on Mars is an essential goal, which is why NASA is working on experiments to grow crops in Martian soil, or at least in simulants of Martian soil. It's not just about food, it's about creating a closed-loop system that doesn't rely on Earth for resupply. This is one of the most ambitious aspects of human settlement, turning Mars into a place that's not just livable for a few months, but sustainable for generations. SpaceX's plan for Mars settlement shares similar goals but with a slightly more audacious twist. Musk envisions a self-sustaining city, with the ability to generate its own power, produce its own food, and build its own infrastructure. One potential solution for energy generation is nuclear fusion or solar power. The abundant sunlight on Mars could provide a reliable energy source for life support systems, agriculture, and manufacturing. Musk has even mentioned the idea of terraforming Mars, a process that could take centuries, but could eventually transform the Martian atmosphere enough to support human life without the need for life support suits. Both NASA and SpaceX understand that sending humans to Mars isn't just about getting there. It's about building the infrastructure needed to support them once they arrive, and that's where the true challenge lies. Whether it's Mars habitats, self-sustaining ecosystems, or building a local economy from scratch, the future of humanity on Mars depends on innovation, resilience, and the ability to solve problems that we can't even foresee today. Now let's zoom out a bit. The journey to Mars is more than just a race between two space giants, NASA and SpaceX. It's a reflection of something deeper, our vision for humanity's future. What does it mean to become a multi-planetary species? Why is it so crucial that we set our sights on Mars? And what would it take to actually make this vision a reality? The allure of Mars isn't just about adventure, it's about survival. Elon Musk often talks about Mars as a plan B for humanity, a place to escape to in case something catastrophic happens to Earth. Perhaps it's a supervolcano, a massive asteroid impact, or a runaway climate crisis. Maybe it's just the relentless march of overpopulation, dwindling resources, or endless geopolitical conflicts. Whatever the cause, Musk believes that diversifying humanity's presence across more than one planet is key to ensuring our long-term survival. And here's the thing, he's not the only one who thinks so. SpaceX's Mars ambitions resonate with a much broader movement. Some of the most brilliant minds in science, technology, and industry believe that the future of humanity will depend on our ability to leave Earth behind and make a new home elsewhere. But why Mars? What makes this cold, dusty, and inhospitable planet our best shot? The answer lies in Mars' potential for transformation. Unlike the Moon, which has no atmosphere and no real resources, Mars has the ingredients we need to survive, just not in the state we're used to. Its gravity, though weaker than Earth's, is strong enough to support human health long-term. There's ice at the poles, and beneath the surface, there's potential for vast reserves of water. There are also minerals that could be mined, soils that might be cultivated, and energy that could be harnessed from the sun. But here's where things get interesting. The very fact that Mars is not a perfect replica of Earth makes it the ultimate test for human ingenuity. This isn't a place we can just visit, plant a flag, and walk away from. No, Mars demands that we think in terms of long-term adaptation. It's a world that won't bend to our will. It's a planet that forces us to rethink everything we know about survival, technology, and sustainability. This is where the competition between NASA and SpaceX becomes so critical. Their approaches might differ, but both organizations are striving toward the same fundamental goal: Mars colonization. And their methods reveal a lot about how they envision humanity's future. Let's start with NASA's philosophy. For the space agency, Mars colonization is a gradual process. They're not in a rush to send astronauts there, at least not without ensuring that every detail has been meticulously planned. NASA's vision includes a careful build-up of infrastructure. First, they'll establish a permanent human presence on the Moon, what they call the Artemis base. This lunar outpost will act as a stepping stone for future missions to Mars. It's on the Moon that NASA plans to test all the systems needed for deep space travel, from life support and radiation protection to sustainable energy sources and water extraction. But why the Moon before Mars? It's all about testing in a real-world environment. The Moon is far enough from Earth to mimic the isolation and resource constraints of a Mars mission, but it's also close enough that resupply missions and emergency evacuations are possible. It's an intermediate stage. And from the Moon, NASA plans to launch missions to Mars in the late 2030s or early 2040s. It's a slow and steady plan, but one that prioritizes safety, reliability, and preparation. SpaceX, however, has a very different approach. Elon Musk doesn't want to wait. He doesn't want to build the infrastructure of a colony piece by piece, testing every system along the way. Instead, he wants to go big. He wants to go now. Musk's goal is to land humans on Mars within this decade and begin establishing a self-sustaining colony as soon as possible. For him, the risk is worth it. The challenges are daunting, but the urgency is undeniable. His belief is that humanity must act quickly before we reach a point where it's too late. To make this dream a reality, SpaceX is focusing on one key technology: Starship. Musk envisions this fully reusable spacecraft as the backbone of Mars. Colonization. It's not just a spaceship, it's a space city, designed to carry large numbers of people, equipment, and cargo on long-duration missions. But here's the kicker. SpaceX plans to start launching missions to Mars before everything is perfect. Musk has said that even if the first few missions to Mars are not fully successful, they'll provide invaluable data for future missions. And failure, he argues, is part of the process. This willingness to take risks and to embrace failure as a stepping stone toward success sets SpaceX apart. While NASA's approach is methodical and focused on minimizing risk, SpaceX's approach is bold, fast, and unafraid of failure. Musk sees the race to Mars not just as a technological challenge, but as a moral imperative. His philosophy is simple. Humanity needs to become a multi-planetary species to safeguard its future, and Mars, with its resources, its challenges, and its potential for transformation, is the best place to start. But there's another side to this argument. As we hurtle toward this vision of Mars colonization, we must ask, what does it mean for humanity's future? Can we truly build a new civilization on Mars, or is this just a billionaire's pipe dream? If we succeed, what will we create? Will Mars be a beacon of hope, a new home for humanity, or will it become a barren wasteland? Just another chapter in our history of overreaching and failure. What we know for certain is that the stakes are incredibly high. Whether it's NASA's cautious optimism or SpaceX's bold ambition, the dream of Mars colonization will require more than just technology. It will require ingenuity, resilience, and the collective will of humanity to overcome obstacles we can't even fully anticipate yet. As we continue to push forward with this grand vision, one thing becomes clear. We're not just trying to reach Mars, we're trying to reach ourselves. We're pushing the boundaries of what's possible, of what it means to be human, and of what we're capable of when we work together. The journey to Mars is not just a journey to another world. It's a journey to a new chapter in human history. As the rockets roar toward the stars, the tension between NASA and SpaceX becomes palpable. Both organizations are pioneers in their own right, but it's clear that they're not just racing to colonize Mars, they're racing to define humanity's future. So, who will win? NASA or SpaceX? And more importantly, what happens if we succeed? Let's take a moment to consider the enormity of what's at stake. To truly colonize Mars isn't just about landing a few astronauts on the surface. It's about establishing a lasting, self-sustaining presence, a civilization that can survive without constant support from Earth. For NASA, that means creating the infrastructure needed to support life over the long term. Habitats, renewable energy sources, food production, and perhaps most importantly, the systems to protect humans from radiation and other dangers. NASA's carefully orchestrated approach might take longer, but it's grounded in years of research, expertise, and a commitment to safety. For SpaceX, the timeline is much more aggressive. Elon Musk has made no secret of his desire to send humans to Mars as soon as possible. His bold, risk-taking vision of Mars colonization hinges on Starship, a spacecraft capable of carrying vast numbers of people and cargo to Mars. While SpaceX's approach might seem reckless to some, Musk's philosophy is clear. We need to take risks to succeed. He sees failure not as a setback, but as a learning experience. For Musk, the sooner we attempt Mars colonization, the sooner we'll uncover the solutions we need to make it work. The stakes are high, but Musk is convinced that the only way to truly protect humanity's future is to become a multi-planetary species. But what happens if we succeed? What does a thriving Martian colony look like? It's hard to say for sure, but let's imagine it for a moment. Picture a bustling city on the Martian plains, domes and habitats scattered across the landscape, greenhouses with crops growing under artificial lights, and solar panels absorbing every bit of sunlight. People working together, designing new technologies, building homes, and creating a society that's independent from Earth. It's a world where humans have not only survived, but thrived, where the challenges of Mars have forged a new kind of ingenuity. This isn't science fiction. It's a future that both NASA and SpaceX are working towards, each in their own way. The question is not whether we will make it to Mars. It's when and how we will get there. Both approaches, NASA's careful, measured steps and SpaceX's bold, ambitious plans, offer different paths to the same destination. And in the end, they may both play vital roles in ensuring humanity's place in the cosmos. But the story doesn't end with the first human step on Mars. If we do succeed in landing on Mars, we'll face even greater challenges. The real test will come when we start building our new world. Will we create a utopia, or will Mars become a desolate outpost struggling to survive against the unforgiving landscape? It's easy to dream about the possibilities, but the reality will be far more difficult. Establishing a Martian colony isn't just about technology, it's about human resilience, creativity, and our ability to adapt to the harshest of environments. And as we look toward the future, we must ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to build on Mars? Will we make the same mistakes we've made on Earth, repeating patterns of inequality, environmental destruction, and exploitation? Or will we take this opportunity to build a better future, one based on sustainability, cooperation, and respect for the planet that has given us life? The race to Mars is, at its core, a race for the soul of humanity. It's a test of whether we can overcome our differences and work together to achieve something greater than ourselves. It's a question of whether we're ready to face the unknown, to explore the stars, and to build a future that extends far beyond the confines of our home planet. So, who will win this race to Mars, NASA or SpaceX? The truth is, both will win. Because whether it's through NASA's scientific rigor or SpaceX's innovative audacity, we are on the verge of achieving something truly extraordinary, the beginning of humanity's expansion into the cosmos. Path to Mars is long, and it will be fraught with challenges. But every great journey begins with a single step, and perhaps, just perhaps, we're closer than ever to taking that step. As we wrap up today's discussion, I leave you with this question. What do you think humanity's future on Mars will look like? Will we succeed, or is this just another dream destined to fade with time? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into space exploration, share this video with your friends, like it, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Every conversation brings us closer to unlocking the mysteries of the universe, and your insights could be part of shaping the future of space exploration. Until next time, remember that the stars are waiting, and we're just getting started.